It is 9 o'clock. I will call our regular June meeting order. All commissioners are present. After we go around the room for introductions, so Brandy.
Brandy Warburg for Morrow.
Mark that for Morrow.
Lisa Middlefield for Morrow. Irene Hendricks for Morrow. Karen Federer for him.
Yeah, we're coming for Morrow. You said it was on.
You're good, you got it. Erica Wasserman for Morrow. Okay, and then online, we have Don Doherty.
John Doherty. Here's me, John Doherty, City Hebner.
Great, thank you. And Raven. Raven, can you identify yourself?
Okay. Very good, thank you. I assume there was no public comment.
No.
And
Why do I keep waiting to work?
We do have one, thing to talk about, though. We do not have a tour, identified on the agenda until 11 a.m. If we're done with our meeting, perhaps we might want to go on the tour earlier. The only way we do that is we have someone standing here at 11 and make sure no one showed up just for that tour to get on the bus. Does anyone have a problem with that?
I don't know. No.
As long as we can still draw it.
Yeah.
It's fine. If also be ready.
You're we're thinking about
We would be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in the
You got
future, I'll just
We'll go.
put tour and not this time.
To follow.
Yeah, and that's what I said in the email. I said tour to follow immediately after commission meeting, but I did put a time on the agenda. So in the future, I just won't put a time, just put immediately following the meeting.
We thought we could get even more like if we need that more time, does anyone have word stop?
Okay.
I guess maybe I really like starting meetings in the morning, honestly. I've got a few feels about it. Half the workday, so at the end of the day.
I don't know how much.
I was gonna say, I did, but that's okay. I did it all yesterday, so it's fine. I can do it the day before.
This is just for, I'm tossing it out, I'm not saying we need to change it. Maybe,
Yeah.
think about
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I
it. Me too.
we make it work. Okay, nothing on the public comment. We will open our budget hearing. Also, that'd be the next item. Next is consent agenda of the 3 meetings. Everybody's had those to look at.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion on one of them. The May 8th regular commission meeting minutes, I would move to approve with an amendment that I would like it spelled out that with the public comment period, notes Mike Hughes from Board of Fire and Rescue comment regarding post-2 and post-3 funds. I would like to change that he expand on that and call it the minor removal from the Pres 2 board due to past conflict of interest, not current, but past. So that's my motion.
And that was on, public comment period.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he did do that.
He did do that.
Yep. Okay.
I'll go on the back change and then we'll have them signed.
I'm gonna say that again, Brandon.
Eric will make the change and then we'll
Okay.
to amend them and then we'll have those for you to sign.
Okay, well, we need to have a second and a vote to,
Sorry.
should we want to approve those, it's up to the commission.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
okay. Don has moved and Kelly is seconded to approve just the May 8th. The
Just the
amendment.
May 8th.
Okay. The May 8th meeting with the amendment. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of the 2 other meetings, May 24th and May 31st as presented, please.
Second. Okay. John has moved, Joel has seconded to approve, May 24th and May 31 meetings. Any other discussion?
I do have a comment. I did quickly look at the Huckner Gazette, this week, and it says in here, City of Hefner has already committed 800,000 for infrastructure. for the Kinsey Mill site. Additionally, the Port of Morrow expressed its willingness to donate $100,000.
I read that too. Who,
I don't know. The board preferred option for the project is to connect to the city water supply while establishing a separate sewer system. However, this would come at an annual operating and maintenance cost of approximately $70,000 for lift stations or pressurized systems. Just wanted to verify, and our minutes do say that we offered up $500,000 of in-kind labor
And direction and the
and equipment, but nothing about, I mean, either the 100,000 was supposed to be 500, or we didn't commit separately $100,000 cash.
they did not.
No, we didn't, but I would say too, when Dave was here, Commissioner Sykes, he asked for a letter to be sent spelling out what the port would do. And it was my understanding that he didn't receive that, for the port commissioner, for that. port.
He did not, and that's our fault.
So that's where that difference in thinking happens, when they don't have that in front of them. I mean, yeah, we need a correction. It's not right, what they put in the paper first, so.
The letter was
Clarification would be good.
sent to them. No. It was
Yeah,
this week.
I haven't made it excited on Monday.
Yeah,
okay.
so that has been sent to them with that correct motion of 500,000.
sent to the county or sent to the newspaper?
Well, sent to the county.
Okay. So could we send that same letter to the newspaper?
We don't split the motions. I just wanted to make sure that the motion that we made was what you thought you made, and they just misheard it. Or misunderstood it.
You don't think we should do a correction?
Yeah, but how are they gonna, everybody else that reads papers gonna think if that's, I mean, it's an easy correction.
Well, if they, well,
So
I
this
guess they're
might be
not
a
on the-
discussion for later. We've
Yeah.
got to second.
Yeah, I guess. But your point was to make sure that you were thinking that the right one is, the one with the papers. Okay, we'll bring that up under other new business. Okay, that's all right. Good. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. Unanimous. Legislative updates. So we have,
Kirby and Ryan both said that they were not available today.
okay. Let's see, Mr. Tucker has joined us on Zoom. Okay, so moving on to old business, the first item is CDA update.
So, Sam, we're in open session. Do you want to give an update on where we're at in our process?
Let me try. Is my, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so, the CDA moved to approved a transfer of the land to us, authorized, the executive director to sign documents related to that. The first step in connection with that is to prepare a purchase and sale agreement that will set out the terms and conditions of the transfer. It says purchase and sale, but they're transferring that to us without consideration. So we've been working on that. And the CDA wants to have something available to the CDA people to review. I think next Tuesday is a meeting, and we're working very hard to do that. We're very close to an agreement that sets out the terms and conditions under which the port will accept this property. You initially might say, well, they're just going to give it to us, but it's a lot more complicated than that. There are numerous requirements imposed and agreements entered into by CDA that were imposed on them by the Army. And those have to be transferred and assumed by the port if we're going to accept this property. We've looked at them, and you know, it has to be that way if we're going to take the property, and we can, I think, Lisa and I agree, well, it has to be that way and we can live with it. The second part is that the land may need to be divided or partitioned because we don't know if existing tax lots exist. And the position of CDA and their attorney is there has to be separate tax lots. And this requires some process with the Morrow County Planning Department. And as of recent meetings, the CDA's Portland attorneys who are experts in the matter are going to proceed with what is necessary. We think and hope that the two lower sections of land may have already been established as separate tax lots. The 640 agricultural or unimproved acres on the north creates a problem. We're working through that, and the port initially took the position that the port should lead for that, but for reasons, we have decided to go and let the Portland attorneys take the lead on that. They have some expertise and stuff, and Jacob will be working with them. And so there is a partition process that will probably take place that will take time, and we are going to proceed with that. The other document is a development agreement, and that's required by the transfer of the property to the port. And we are working on that. We sent a draft that I think will be acceptable. I sent a draft that I think will be generally acceptable to CDA that provides us some protections or some input on what kind of conditions they're going to put on it. For example, CDA must retain the right to put some easements across our property because those easements are necessary for development of other property. More subject to Umatilla County because the Umatilla County property that's given to the Port of Umatilla has to have easements to benefit us. We're working on it, people, and we're very close, and we hope to have something to the to CDA staff to present to CDA hopefully next Tuesday. That's where we are. Lisa, anything more you want to add?
I would say that what we know is that all of the parties will continue to work together. We'll be doing that over the term that we are in an intergovernmental agreement. There's also easements that we will be granted that goes through property that will be private property as well. So that gives us an access to the 640 acres from the east side. And that's really all I have to say. The development agreement will help us with common infrastructure.
Who's the agreement, the development agreement, who's it an agreement with?
The
The city?
CEA
With the
and
CEA.
the Department of Services, the property. Yes. And I think that's it. We're working through the details. It's complicated. Going back historically on the parcels of land as they were transferred to the federal government, is where the research is going right now on this 650 acres. And it looks like everything else they found. The lower southwest corner and the Umatilla piece, they found those legal persons.
Good.
So other questions? We just to clarify, we understand that you know, the executive team can proceed with this and can enter into these agreements. We understand that that's already.
You froze down.
Darn.
The most important.
Yeah.
I think what he was saying is the motion from, the CBA board to Greg was to proceed with the purchase and sale.
Yeah.
Agreements to sign the documents.
And I think also he was getting at, is on, do we as a commission authorize him to review, to progress down all these pathways, which I would. That's a point of discussion here, I would assume so, but
Yeah.
If we need a special meeting, we will ask. I guess if you want to make a motion to do that, you can, but if you want an update in between, we'd be happy to.
these kind of updates are what I need.
Are you back?
You're moving. You're muted.
Now you're muted, Sam.
There you go.
So, yes, I'm back. My computer says I have unstable connection, so you keep.
Yeah,
Um,
well done. So I guess with that same thought, anything from any legal action from Umatilla County is got it down the road a bit. We'll just move forward until something changes in our course. Yeah. Here.
we're on calls with 1, 2, 3, 4 attorneys and the attorney's real estate team as well, so there are a lot of people in this.
Okay. Seems like the articles are possibly incorrect, or they don't tell the whole story. The newspaper articles,
Maybe I missed.
There was just one.
just one, yeah.
Geez. So nothing's come up, the request for Greg's request for 100 acres to be sold or anything to operate.
I have heard that.
Yes, he asked for 100 acres to sell, so that they can
And,
take those proceeds to operate.
and Port of Umatilla is going to give those acres up for that project, because it was going to be in Umatilla.
Okay.
So that'll happen before the exchange of land, for the land transfer center, correct? So those 100 acres.
Either, and I don't know, John, that's a good question, maybe Sam knows that, Sam?
He just got back on, so I'm sure he didn't hear the question.
The 100 acres that, Port of Umatilla is giving up for a project for the CDA to maintain and sell, which will give them operating money. Is that prior to transfer to Port of Umatilla or after?
I'm not certain, but I think that would be taken out when CDA transfers it, CDA will retain that property.
Okay,
Right, so the CDA will be.
that will give them operating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as lots and stuff, tax lots, Umatilla is ahead of us on identifying that kind of stuff, is my understanding, because they went through a process.
I don't know that we voted on this yet, to give that 100 acres to.
We haven't.
We haven't.
He just asked for it.
Yeah,
He just asked.
Yeah,
So
so that hasn't been voted on yet.
It is. It's on the Umatilla County side, so it's in a property that was to be transferred to Port of Umatilla.
But,
Port of Umatilla is giving that property up.
but they do it right now, it'll be the CDA.
Yeah.
It will be the CDA, yeah. Yes,
But the money from the sale will go to the CBA to operate.
correct.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Port of Umatilla's, gesture. And as far as the parcels go, the southwest corner parcels are identified. It's just the 640 that it's not, and yes, they're doing more research now.
Well, what I meant to say is to get that 100 acre now, it's not gonna take an act of Congress for Umatilla County to. Or Kitchen knows that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what their process is in Umatilla County.
I think they've already, not on the 100 acres, but on their tax lots, I think they're ahead, because they had to go through a process.
They had to go to a master
Before.
planning.
Yeah, there you go, master.
They got in that L shape is kind of parceled out. I think honestly, I don't know what this really parcel is.
We'll be curious to hear how the CJ board
Yeah.
votes on coming up, so.
We are actively talking to someone about a project on the north side.
You will be there on the next
Yeah,
meeting?
yeah, it's June 25th, 1 p.m. at the Harrison Center.
And I'll be gone most all next week, so if somebody else wanted to
You're
go.
giving me a
In
alert.
Hermiston Chambers in the old city hall or the old library?
I don't know.
I'm not really sure.
I don't know that it said,
It's on Highway 395, like across from, is that Motel 6? On
Like
the
the old-
same side as the old Taco Time, you know where Taco Time used to be? And then there's like, it used to be
Oh.
Pasco,
Yeah,
and then that's where the chamber is, that's what you said?
that's what
Yes,
the memo
yeah.
says.
They've remodeled, it's a smallish building right by Jolly Junkies, it's a smallish building on that same side, but they've remodeled it, it's beautiful.
Okay.
I don't know how,
talk about the Ford dealership.
Yeah,
yeah, where the Ford dealership was.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I mean, if you guys want to go or anybody else, but I won't wait. Okay.
Kelly, you're good for that meeting.
Anything else that we need on CBA? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to WIPIA application update.
We have been promised a final term sheet next week that will accommodate or include all of our requests that are acceptable to them. So we still don't know what the final. I mean, obviously we didn't ask for anything unreasonable, so
But you still have to negotiate, or? It's still maybe have some discrepancy there.
it might have. It might have, because our last, one that they gave us, it's like they gave on all these things that we didn't think they were gonna give on. And then they moved the payment date, 4 years.
Yeah, so there's some funding and some reserves and things, I don't know if I would sign on from part or one, but we had, I mean, since our initial discussion on the term sheet, like, we would be able to fund our reserve through 2033, and instead of year before the first payment date, which they said was 29, so they went from 2033 to 2028, and then they said that principal payments were going to be due like 2 years earlier than we had talked about before, and showing all our cash flows, and they just did some things that I just don't even know if they realized they'd done it. And so we had things like that.
So we're again cautiously hopeful that we'll have some big numbers next week. Because we can't do the resolution until we have
Right.
the term sheet, which is why you don't have that in front of you today.
And what we're asking for is incredibly common and out of place for how we would go loans work. There's some payment, repayment, or the payment flexibility after the, completion date of the loan and stuff like that, or the construction completion date. So what we're asking for is inside what they give to everyone, which is really bizarre that they, it's like they forgot what they've written down.
Wheels of government move too slow, sometimes, but if we're under a time crunch, it's really.
Yes.
Really
Marcus
good
did
things.
great.
Yeah.
And I was on a Denmark trip with Chris Cummings, and he said I think we'll only do a special.
so who was this?
IFA is Infrastructure Finance Authority.
So financing Arnold, State for Business Oregon.
So we have 5 outstanding loans with the state. And some of them have some terms that are problematic for WIFIA. And so we're going to pay off the 2 oldest ones. That will cost us a little over 300,000, but one of them was paying off this year anyway, so, and then, anyway, The state's willing, the problem is, the most recent loan, the one that we did to go south. They refinanced that through the Oregon Bond Bank, which means they issued bonds to loan us and some other entities money for their projects. And so they were really kind of caught up with the whole process and having to get sign off from the trustees of the bond bank. And apparently, we don't think that's going to be an issue. We have talked to the trustee and they just need to get stuff from the state. They said that they could turn it around in a day. Yeah, they're on one hand really willing to help us, and on the other hand, they just never quite done this before, and they're not really sure how it all works. So
And then you're talking about Withia or IFA? or-
that's the IFA. But they're willing to do what they need to do to make the terms acceptable to Withia.
Is Withia concerned about all 5 of those loans or just?
No, and they were for different reasons. So we gave specific income streams to support certain loans, which implies that they're going to be senior to Westview, that they need to be on purity.
Okay. And that's what the trustees have to agree to, I assume.
Yeah,
And that's only on,
that, and apparently, I still don't see it, but apparently we had acceleration provisions in our state loans, which meant if we failed to make a payment, they could say it was all due and payable right now. And what is like, well, if they get that, we get that. Well, we don't want anybody to have that.
And the state understands the importance of this, so they will do what's needed. That's
Yeah.
what I got.
So the state's being responsive as IFA.
Absolutely. They had a meeting. Was it June 7th?
Whatever the Friday date was.
Yeah.
well, then the next week we met with their legal team. And so it's, IFA has been an issue.
They typically only meet every 2 months to board. But they're willing to comments that they know the importance of the policy.
It's nice. Okay.
Anything else on Withia? Keep trucking along?
We just need it done.
Yeah.
Need it done sooner than later.
Years ago.
We're pushing into August.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
So once they give you the updated sheet, the fact sheet or whatever. Term sheet. Do we have that ability again to go back and negotiate, or is that just their last fact sheet, term sheet that they're going to provide us?
No, it depends on what we don't change, because whatever we're committed to for 40 years. And we need to be careful. And, and if we agree to make payments 2 years before we were going to start,
The cash flow just changed. It just didn't make, and then they wanted to meet and tell us about this great, flexibility we have with the payment plan. And I think they didn't respond after when we sent back and said, hey, we want to start paying on this on X date instead of 4 years earlier.
Okay, so the negotiation of the term sheet. And once we're done with that negotiation, then they'll take that term sheet and populate all of the loan documents. And that's going to take another month, probably.
Yeah, because then we'll come to you with the resolution, everything will start with, it's just, this is.
This is the process.
Yeah. All right. Okay, next is Chris, 2 updates.
This is just,
I know they had a meeting and
they had a meeting and they dispersed money and I think I left that on my desk.
Okay. But it's all dispersed now?
Yep, and the 900,000 is dispersed.
300 to Boardman Fire, 300 to Boardman Police, 100 to Morrow County Sheriff, 100 to Area Fire, and 100 to Morrow County Health District.
Yes, that sounds correct.
And then I did have a call from, Matt Comey of the school district asking about the education foundation funds dispersal, I guess, I would say that's what he's asking about.
Okay.
There's a meeting planned for candidate.
Yeah.
Okay.
we schedule a meeting.
All right, thank you.
Anybody heard of do we have a administrator for the grants yet? Are we still in limbo? Grants,
Oh,
still in limbo?
I haven't heard a word.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Suppose it's not really pressing too much though. We gotta do something, I don't know,
It would be nice.
before waiting for the county.
Right.
Pay for people in this. Signing up for it,
Well, I'm sure if somebody signed up, they would. Until there's actual
It's a job.
business to be done.
No, I think they're still thinking,
Internal from the county.
yes, I think they're still thinking Vincent, but they were letting him, or Vince,
Yeah.
letting him get acquainted with his current job before they put those on him. I believe is my understanding.
Well.
We didn't really make that decision, did we? No, the county was not entirely comfortable with having him do it yet, and I don't know that
That's kind of what
Either
I thought it might be going to one of the finance people at the county, but we'll find out.
still up in the air though, right?
Yeah.
Meeting will be announced, John.
That all, Chris?
They have someone on their staff that would be for it.
Okay, anything else on Chris too? All right, thank you. Community projects, I think. Anything,
I'm pretty well finished.
yeah, I saw you.
Let's go over there. There was a challenge with working with irrigation. And same kind of issues we had at fire hall. We got through it. There was a lot of bigger one going on. We did a bunch of extra work that we don't want to, but it's done now.
I think we'll have pictures when we get to the maintenance and projects.
Yeah, it turned out nice.
Do we have a community project listed?
No, I didn't put it in there since it was just that.
We're working on the capability for area two on the design for that. That's kind of got pushed back a little bit because we have the big farms. So. It's not. Hopefully we'll have some version this fall and I guess.
I saw Cedar Rock the other day and the pickleball court has got the first layer completed, so if you go by the region. Marina is in between the two softball fields, kind of close to where the gazebo, the concession stand is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's all, Mark, for projects, okay? Next is the ordinance, 2024-02.
So in your packet, you have the red line version. Michael just joined us, but it's the latest red line version from comments that we've received from industry, farmer. So that's the latest version.
We're talking about the wastewater ordinance.
Correct.
I had a number of things I was hoping to ask questions on. If we could please. First of all, somebody give me a summation of the purpose of this ordinance.
Got it.
So whole industry accountable to the water that we receive from them.
That's
That's it.
For that, the wastewater treatment center, we have a level playing field for all, correct?
Our last one was done in 1890
Yes, yes,
with very limited qualifiers in it.
yeah, right, exactly.
Michael, is that a good summation?
Yes, this is to update a 30-year-old ordinance, really at the direction of DEQ. So the DEQ is essentially requiring the port to update its ordinance so that the port has better control over the wastewater that it's receiving so that the port can comply with its permit.
My concerns then after reading this and the comments that are in here is that, I see my job is to protect the Port Commission and the community of Portland and the communities in this county and the people who live here and the industry too. When I get all the way down through this, that's long, and there's a fair number of changes. It seems to me that when we get right down to the last page where it says, for example, to the extent that any provision of this ordinance conflicts with the provision of a currently effective written agreement between the port and the industrial user that was entered into and effective before January 1, 2024, the conflicting provision does not apply to that industrial user. What's out there? How do I approve this, not knowing what's already out there? And how does that compromise the commission and its goal with this ordinance? Because I can't make a determination on that because I don't know what's already out. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, my other comments are in there and they all relate to this general concept. So,
I believe the only agreement we have is fixed arguments.
So.
No agreements, there's any.
So after this, there's a separate agreement with each of our industries, very specific to the water quality, the water quantity, and all the details of what that particular business would have to do. So that's in addition to this.
okay, that's the, what are the two permits called? But this is authorized hookup. What is actually, that's right. There's two permits we grant, using this ordinance, we would grant a
Connection permit, yeah.
and a discharge permit. That's what you're talking about, is those two permits.
Yes.
That would be specific to those industries.
Yes.
Oh, okay, we need to make sure that the CNCAM agreement is defined. Okay, the only thing that's important to me in that agreement is they keep this lump sum up front and they weren't going to get charged for wastewater for 10 years. Those 10 years are gone. But they never operated during those 10 years or very, very little. So it was really a good, just so you know. But there was also some information about the client. And so I don't know if that motivates you and you need to verify.
Yeah, see, I can't in good faith approve this today, because I don't know what's out there. Like the Z account or, QGE, I mean, just so that we don't know, so that I know. And then it seems like a lot of the red lines that happen in here soften us quite a little bit. And I just need time to digest that. Does it have to be approved today? I mean,
No.
Well, we actually have to have a reading, which we'll do.
Okay.
Next.
Okay.
Two reading.
Two readings.
Okay, all right. So, thank you.
In fact, I think what the moment can call, yeah.
This is your opportunity and we're asking you to
All
comment.
right.
You've got an expert on, he can answer your questions.
Okay.
I have a comment too. It's on page 7, number 8. The report may revoke the connection permit or discharge permit for good cause. And then it says accept. Some of us saying, things are really bad, but we can't revoke them.
Okay.
It's tyranny, acceptable industrial discharge poses a serious or medical danger. I mean, that says, then you can't reject for good cause. Just, am I?
You're correct.
That was my impression too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, missing a word, or
Right.
especially when, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I believe the intent is that way you don't give 60 days notice.
Right, yeah, right.
Safety, they need it,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, okay.
so I think it's probably just sort of,
It kind of reads like it's in the industrial users benefit, not ours. That's kind of the way you know.
I think what it actually means though is that we can turn it off right away if it does pose a threat. If it doesn't, we gotta give it 60 days notice.
Okay.
Michael comments.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little hard trouble hearing the speech is a little muddled, but could you ask me the direct question again? I apologize.
Page 7, number H, or designation H. But the port may revoke a connection permit or discharge permit for a good cause, except for industrial use of discharge poses a serious and immediate danger. It seems that, backwards.
Right. It's on page 7, Michael.
Page
three
7.
H.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Page 7. First paragraph.
What was the?
It's 3H.
Yeah,
But,
three.
the idea there, Commissioner, is that the port would give 60 days notice if it decided to revoke a permit, except when there's a serious and immediate danger. So it's intended to, if the port was just, I suppose, frustrated with compliance and there's no immediate issue, but it wants to terminate or revoke the permit, then it would have to give 60 days notice. But if there is some serious issue going on that poses an immediate serious danger, then the port could immediately revoke the permit.
To me, it seems like 60 days written notice should be in the sentence above, port may revoke a connection permit or discharge permit for 60 days, for good cause with 60-day written notice. And then down below, it
Except,
seems like it should say immediately, or sometime it should say 60 days written notice after accepts.
Yeah, it's like the sentence, it's not sure, it's
Right.
backwards.
I'm certain we could revise that to clarify it. I think the way it was written was the first sentence is essentially the port can revoke the permit. And then the next sentence talks about how much notice the port has to give. And so, except when there's a serious and immediate danger, the port has to provide 60 days notice before revoking. So that was the way it was structured. It was just, the first sentence is just a statement that the port can revoke a permit. And then the next sentence addresses how much notice the port needs to provide, or the circumstances under which the port would need to provide notice. And then the following sentence is the reasons for revocation. So that, but if that isn't clear, we can certainly revise that to make it clearer.
When you read it again, it does read okay, but it might be better, clear, might be better.
You just gotta read it.
yeah, entirely, okay.
Yeah.
So if there is a serious and immediate danger to public health, we have to give a 60-day written notice.
No.
Okay.
Let me read it for you. Except when the industrial user discharge poses a serious and immediate danger to public health, the environment, or the reuse, the port shall provide 60 days written notice.
Okay.
That shall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like in the wrong order, the way so, it's kind of like.
I see that.
It
That's
is
correct.
correct, so it is, but
Yes.
it would be.
You have to read it. So,
It may be a little confusing because that first sentence is a sentence. It's not a comma after good cause. It's a hard stop period, but it's not very clear the way this is on the page. So that except is not an exception to the first sentence.
Correct.
There is a full stop there, but it's kind of hard to read that. It looks like it might be a comma.
Just so the tenant's lawyer can't argue.
yeah, so when I was reading through it, I had questions and comments, and I thought, well, to me, I would want more one-on-one. I was thinking I was gonna ask, should this be more of a workshop for us, this ordinance? Than just our normal business.
I think I like that idea too. There's a lot of things in here, having indefinite terms and
How about if you give us all of your comments?
Okay.
You provide us all your comments and then we will do a revision to the document. I mean, we can certainly set up a workshop just to go through this.
I have questions that I would be answered. I may not disagree with what's in here, but if I don't understand it, then I just turn them into you, I'd rather ask a question. Have a possibility, please. Yeah.
So,
Very work with myself.
yeah, I mean, is there a time frame that we need this, done?
We want this completed.
We would like to have the first reading in our select commission.
Okay. So, I mean, if we came back, if we were to come back in a week, 10 days. To have a quick workshop with Michael online, then we can. I mean, I think we can submit our questions and stuff, but there's still questions we want to ask in person.
Right.
Hey, I don't understand this, or,
So submit your questions, we can get, maybe we can get half those out of the way.
Okay.
And then we'll set up a 2-hour workshop. That's probably the better amount of time.
Besides us, have the people that actually have to do this gone through this? And
Yeah,
looked
that's
at
the
the,
comments, slow.
Those- okay, that's what I'm
Michael was fine with this.
but from the court employee side of it too? Or have they, is all of this applicable to what they have to do daily?
Yes,
Okay,
but they don't have input other than Mark, is that what
Right.
you're asking?
yeah, I mean,
Miss got a lot of input on this.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's DQ. Most of this is DQ.
Yeah.
Getting an ordinance.
So these red lines, I mean, are they back and forth stuff that you've done, you're not just.
We've already
When Weston just says, hey, no, I want this to say this in there, and they put it in, that's.
yeah, are you
That's-
fine with some of this? I guess is what I'm asking. Are you fine with the red lines?
I'm fine with a lot of stuff, yes. But there are some things in here too that I still have questions about too.
Okay,
So,
that's fair, yeah.
I'd love to have a discussion about it. So that I can vote about it, and like those agreements that are out there that are, will predate this, I'd like to know about this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The only water delivery agreement we have was from Chip Butter.
yeah.
Sounds like we might hear more.
And I guess if I may, Commissioner, part of the reason that was included is that there is some case law in Oregon that contractual rights the port could override those contractual rights, but it would essentially be breaching its contract, and so it could be liable for breach of contract. And so that was the thinking behind that. And it may be that the commission may want to give further thought to that, whether, if it wants to treat everyone uniformly, is it willing to be liable for breach of contract? And so it may be that we just need to identify what provisions of that agreement would be inconsistent with this ordinance. I suspect that not much in terms of substance, given the nature of the facility involved. It's basically providing wastewater, so it's a volume issue for that facility, as opposed to, say, some of the food processors where there would be nitrates that would, maybe more concerned to DEQ. But it may be helpful if we took a look at that agreement to see what's actually inconsistent with the ordinance. That this was a way to protect the port in the event that there was some inconsistency and to avoid potential contractual liability.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I understand, Michael, thank you. I just don't want to approve something that I don't have full knowledge of.
Sure,
So.
sure.
And when you say, Mike, when you say breach of contract, you're talking about just the. we only have one, basically, PGE, but because we've taken water from all the other industries, is that just an implied contract? Is that what you're talking about? When you say breach contract?
Breach contracts with PGE.
The PGE, okay.
We'll take a look at the again, but
Yeah.
we're probably back to,
It was more volumes.
and they're not
Okay.
operating there.
It's a pretty simple.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm against what might be in place already, but I just want to know about it. And if we need to make, revisions in here, then we will.
Okay. When you say DEQ's asking for this, is this part of our permit, our old permit, our new permit that's maybe coming up, or when are they asking?
This
You know,
is part of.
What
our
is this going to be
compliance-
incorporated
It's
in?
part of our compliance permit.
Part of that, so we're kind of behind the eight ball anyway.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, Commissioner, it was a comment that the port received on the required approval of its operations management and monitoring program, the OM&M, which is incorporated into the permit. So one of the DEQ has to approve that in the comments on the submittals of that plan. DEQ has told the port that it needs to upgrade the ordinance so that it has better control over the incoming wastewater. And so there isn't any, I mean, these requirements are not specifically required. The elements of this ordinance are not specifically required by DEQ. They haven't said, write it this way. So the port does have some flexibility in how it writes this. I don't think we've received any specific comments from DEQ on this draft. So that's a long way of saying that I think the port does have some flexibility here, but we've heard pretty loudly and clearly from DEQ that they want the port to have the ability to do whatever it needs to do to prevent the port from violating its permit with DEQ.
Well, this is just a good business decision. We have to control a lot.
Absolutely.
Sorry, yes, it's,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
this one, we're just gonna do it. We needed it for some time.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the ordinance for now? Okay,
Except to say that, yes, if anybody has, we should turn it into Lisa and our thoughts, or if I just made notes.
Yes, and
Okay.
if you would like to, we can copy that after the meeting, we can copy your notes. If you want to type them out separately, that just takes time from you, but,
It's fine, we'll get it.
Are we still doing the workshop?
yes.
Okay.
and we'll leave to you to
Well,
sort out a time, the dates.
we can do that right now if you'd like, or we can probably in the meeting.
Well, I think depending on the comments and how much needs to be addressed, and I think picking the time right now is probably premature.
Either way, but we got a meeting on the tenth, that's the next meeting, it's July 10th.
But on the tenth, we want to read the first.
There wouldn't want any changes at that time.
Well, I would assume we can make changes between the first and second reading, Michael.
I don't believe so.
I'm gonna punt that question to Sam. I don't know the port's Sure.
As clean as possible.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
I would imagine typos would be perfectly acceptable, substantive.
If we would, I mean, we're looking at it from at least three of us are anyway. Our meeting on the 10th, July 4th, right in the middle of the week.
It's Thursday. So. Pretty darn close.
So,
One day next week,
I could next week,
yes,
But Joe's not.
I'm not here, but I'm okay with not being here, I'll catch up. You guys can give me the quick coming in. So, and I'll submit my question.
okay.
I'd rather the commission have a meeting. And if I miss it, I miss it.
I'm gonna have to zoom in, but
Okay.
Something was punted to me and I didn't hear what. My,
There was a question, Sam, as to whether and to what extent changes could be made between the first and second meeting in the ordinance. Do we have to have two commission meetings with the same ordinance, or can changes occur in between?
I'd have to look at it for sure, but I think it has to be the same.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I would think so.
I could zoom in Monday, Tuesday, or Friday.
And Friday I'm not back, so
What's the date in those?
28th, right?
Friday the 28th.
28th should work for me.
We have at 8:30 and then 9:30. To be safe, maybe we could start at 10:30 on Friday, that way maybe you are back.
Okay. Does that work for you, Kelly? No?
I was hoping to get the town hall, so that's, I can figure something on, so I gotta be at the 25th.
Should be.
It's in 2 days.
Michael, how about you? And more importantly, how about, are you available?
Which, on the 28th?
Yes, at 10:30?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just to be able to answer questions, I'm assuming he's.
Yeah.
Mark will not available on the 28th. And so wherever you're at, you can't zoom in.
I'm not sure. We have the maps.
Are you gonna be in Denmark?
No.
Okay. Cause it's really hard.
But I might be back.
It would work better for me than next week, but.
On the second or something like that.
If it was next week, you could probably go first or second.
That would help me.
The second would work for me.
Joe would be better.
I'm good with either one.
I'm good to the second team.
Okay, the second we have,
Myth is gone,
We have staff meeting, but
and Myth is gone. And we have the meeting.
at 1:30.
I don't know where he is, so I'm not sure if we can zoom in, but
he could,
He's gone first also,
he's coming,
and he's gone all week.
he's having code, so he'll be able to zoom in.
He could zoom in.
okay. Michael? The
The-
second?
The second also works for me. Thank you.
9 AM.
That works.
Okay.
Okay.
9 o'clock.
Thank you.
July 2nd, 9 AM. So I'll set up a Zoom, so. John's gonna call. And Myth.
Okay. I think we got that covered.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Any other old business we need to cover? Anybody can think of? Okay. Hearing none, I'll move on to new business, item A, call for comments and closed budget hearing. So are there any comments out there to the budget? Anybody in the audience? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I will close our budget hearing. 9:59, if it matters for you, Brandy. And then the next will be, resolution 2024-06, adopt and appropriate budget.
Okay, it adopts and appropriates the budget, and it also sets the tax rate, which you can't change anyway, but it's a requirement, right? And this matches the budget that was approved by the budget committee. And it was advertised in the Havana Gazette for the hearing of the. And actually, the copy of that advertisement is kind of stuck in the middle of the minutes, but you do have it. for somewhere.
Okay. Any other questions on our budget and a resolution to approve that? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve resolution 2024-06, the resolution adopting for law.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Rick, second, so John, approved, Rick, is second to approve, resolution 2024-06. Any discussion on that resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Okay, next is resolution 2024-07, rail tariff. That is also in your package. And there was a misprint on that, and I think Brandy handed out the updated one.
Okay, so this was changing our standard rail tariff from $25 to $30 per move. And the change in the container rate, currently Northwest Container is the only one who pays the container rate. And their agreement states that that can be increased annually according to the cost of living adjustment. This is the cost of living adjustment since the origin of their agreement. So we would like to move this from $5 to $7 per move.
And when did that start? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that started in 2000, I believe, and the way that the CPI agreement in that lease, and actually separately in the container section. So I went back and looked through, but there's no way I'm about to pay, we're still charging $5. Unfortunately, it's capped at 3%, revenue, like, so we had some years that were significantly higher, we can only increase every year by 3%, so if it was under, it's 1%, it's only 1% that year, but, it's like a.
And actually, because it's in the contract, we could continue to charge it. But the fact that our tariff said something different was a little bit concerning. Because what if we added another container user? Yeah.
Yeah, it was over 20 years, but, it got capped, right, so we should have done 30 or 40%. But,
yeah. Okay.
Or,
Okay. We need a motion to approve that one.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Rick.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-07 rail tariff rate increase.
Okay. Your second.
Second.
Okay, Rick has moved, Joel has seconded. To approve, resolution 2024-07. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next is resolution 2024-08 utility rates. Also in your packet.
Okay, the proposed rates of 0.98 per thousand gallons fresh water and $3.32 per thousand gallons discharge water is the 15% that we have been communicating with our industry all year long. Okay, we did contract with FCS Group, who we've used as part of our strategic planning in the past. but this is a different one of their offices, and we did contract to do a utility rate study. I've been doing a simplified one for 25 years. It seemed time to find out if I knew what the heck I was doing. And we do have draft copies of those work schedules. They would recommend 21.5 cent increase for 5 years. 21.5% for 5 years, rather than the 15% we have over 7 years. Unless you want to do something differently, this is the number we've been telling our industries for a year. We also, and then they're really clear in this section 2, the commission reviews these rates on an ongoing basis with specific intent of determining if the water and wastewater system is operating on a self-sustaining basis and if not adjusting the usage rate accordingly. We are not tied to only doing this once a year. If we determine that their number is better later in the year, we can still make another adjustment. The thing that we're finding is we don't really know what all these new agreements with our farmers are going to cost us yet. And we don't know yet exactly how many people we're going to need to operate the secondary treatment. You know, it's all just guesses at this point, and so I'm not saying this was a good estimate, but I'm saying all of our projections worked with this estimate. And this is what we submitted to WIFIA, this is what they've been working with. I think they're more concerned that we're gonna waffle out, not do the 15, but there's no way that we can't do the 15.
Who's worried about WIFIA?
WIFIA. Because they're gonna want proof that we actually did this.
In our industry has been here for quite some time.
Yeah.
In fact, they were questioned by somebody at an industry meeting a couple months ago, and laughed at us and said, we do know these numbers and we have been using them in our projection.
Okay.
So, you know, they know.
But it's likely that we in January be having the same conversation, right?
Possibly.
Right now, that's what we've been talking about, so.
Yeah,
We were staying what we've been discussing.
especially what's been given to WIFIA. That's been the industry. I'd really like to see.
Yeah, the only thing that we can apply, they would probably like to see an increase. But
Yeah, I think with you would be happy with us increasing the rate, but it means that we have more money soon.
Okay, a little quicker.
That's what would make the projection work.
My issue with that is that we've been telling our partners, this is what we're doing and they budgeted for it, it's kind of tough to come back and say, oh, no, we just changed our mind.
Okay, the big difference is, you know, it says that it's supposed to be self-sustaining. And that's how our consultants get, you know, standalone discharge, standalone fresh water. We subsidize the discharge, and we always have subsidized the discharge with revenues from land sales, which are site revenues. You know, in fact, we have a transfer from the general fund in this budget, which is really, post-work money. You know, that's really the difference between that 15 and that 21.5.
So the wastewater treatment really is itself sustaining.
It is not.
Okay, it's supplemented with other areas of the budget. 21.5% increase gets us closer there, I suppose. But I do agree with Rick that if this year especially, if we said one thing to industry, I don't like to go back on that. I can't, I personally would be looking at 21% next year. Or if you bring it to us sooner, but I'd like to keep, promise. I
Well,
guess.
if you would consider 18%.
But the interesting thing is we end up really close to the same rate, whether we do 15 over 7 years or 21 and a half over 5. We're ending up about the same place, and I still think without any too many additional surprises.
So let me give you an update on.
Okay.
Surprises.
Bids that we just received.
Does that
This
apply
might-
to
this might
recommendation here?
This might change your mind on how you proceed with this, okay? So we opened bids on our lagoons. We had a budget in our bids for, I believe it was $41,800,000. The low bid came in at $34 million, 34 million change. That was good. We still have some incidental stuff in there. That whole project is probably gonna be around $38 million on it, okay? We opened up bids on secondary treatment. The high bid was $238 million. Low bid was $178 million. We have $143 million budgeted. Okay. We immediately reached out to Consort to start beating things out. I don't know if we'll get to the 143. We met with a little bit also, we're starting negotiating. I can see us getting maybe $30 million knocked off that 178. Maybe a little bit more, don't know yet, just getting into negotiations. So there is added cost too. So
So if he really does get it that low, we have that much that we're lower on the lagoons.
on the lagoons,
So we're still okay if he accomplishes that.
I'm pretty confident the lagoons were and a good budget, everything good contingency.
So budget was 40 on the low bid was 34 million.
Yes.
So that says this.
But you're expecting
Yeah,
30.
but there's still incidental.
He's
in there.
expecting 38.
Yeah, there's a couple of pipelines that aren't in that budget number yet that need to be installed with that, but those will be, so.
We had like $10 million contingency on top of that, so like we get numbers 53 million. Right? So we
Yeah.
That's where he's getting at $10 million from. That makes sense.
We know they're big numbers.
They're big.
So the
Right,
right
Consor had, they had us budgeted at like 130 for secondary treatment. Is what their numbers were. It came in about 78 for a while.
Can you tell me who Consor is?
There are engineering firm
Okay.
that design secondary treatments.
is there that much in there to take out of it?
Well, I think part of it was the time that we got out bid, the amount of bidders we actually had going after. And I guarantee you that the low bids probably got $30 million on top of their actual cost
Because of the compressed timeframe.
compressed. And that's another thing too. Nobody can meet the compliance schedule, but the low bidder had the best schedule and completion date of July 2026, not 25. So we're a full year out, longer out. That doesn't mean that you can't store water in lagoons in 2025, because those lagoons will be done. It's just getting rid of our water that if we don't have secondary treatment in place, taking the nitrate out.
And the thought,
We don't have enough land to get rid of all of that.
the thought was we could get water staged.
Possibly, we're in those negotiations.
Was the high budget number, what was their completion date with the same, they couldn't meet it either?
The high budget,
Yeah.
High bid.
High
no, they were 4 years.
bid. So
Apollo was 4 years to build this. So they were July 2028.
What is the difference between a 21.5% increase and a whatever they're on 15% increase? Is that, and Withia is more interested in seeing that number? All right, just more money, because, we have this unique system that has 9 users versus a municipality that has thousands. And that's also a concern I've heard in the past too, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
For would be to understand that.
right.
We think they're there,
What's the,
but
That's good, yeah.
what's the rate on the distribution?
No, 332.
This would be
351 instead of 332.
19 cents or what?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we can certainly make the adjustments next year or before next year, if we have it as a specific reason to ask for that increase.
But if we do that, we can communicate with our business partner
Yeah,
and give them a heads up, because doing it after the fact is pretty tough.
So the difference between 15% and 21.5% this year doesn't make as big of an impact on the financial model, really to start cash flow, as it would be to start doing that next year and doing it for the next 4 years. That makes sense. So this change right now is making a smaller impact than I guess next year starting at 25.
One last question that I have, is the 21%, this was a market study, and so it showed that our rates could increase by 21.5% and still be competitive, is that right?
okay.
Or is that a?
So it's really disjointed, and they provided us the comparatives first because I was most anxious to see those, to see if our proposal was going to put us out of market. No, this determination is strictly based on their cash modeling of just the discharge segment.
Okay.
Whereas the one that we presented to Withia has all of our sources and all of our uses and,
Transfer included supplemental income from other areas. to-
Right. Right.
Yeah, any other discussion on that? Still,
So this resolution, you're looking for approval today, right?
Yes. Because we intend to start charging it July 1.
I will step out there and make a motion. I make a motion that we approve resolution 2024-08 as presented. But this is not part of the motion. I'll just say it for discussion. I'll just move approval for it because we communicated it to industry.
I'll second that.
John has moved and Rich second to approve utility rates resolution 2024-08. Other discussion.
I would like to see the discussion for next year move to the 21.5%. That's what I'm going to be looking for. I'd like to see the wastewater more self-sufficient. I know it would be handy to have it, but it would be not handy. It would be good to have it to present to Olivia today, but I don't want to go back on industry partners after we said that that's what we were going to do. Yes, this year.
do you want to revisit this in January?
Sure, absolutely, we can talk about it. It's, I don't know what their budget year is, but it's not exactly our budget year, but yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna look at it.
I like the 15%, but I guess we'll have another question in January does the 21%, 21.5%, does that even make us self-sufficient?
Is that what?
Will that make us self-sufficient?
Okay. Well, according to the estimate that they prepared. But I will also tell you that they didn't have the revised Withia amortization schedule. and the interest rate has inched a little higher. You know, it's a moving target, and we'll just have to see how it goes. It also depends on, you know, how many emergency repairs we have to make. It depends on how much overtime the guys have to work. You know, it's a moving target, and it's always been a moving target. And, it's nice that we have a little cushion from some of our other sources to accommodate it.
What rate is Portland City charge for groundwater, just out of curiosity?
I think 44, 45 cents.
We make
I
money
think
on
that sounds right, and I don't know if you can negotiate.
You sign this up 45, you bill higher than 45 cents.
Oh, yeah, I'm only talking for,
Yeah, right, no.
and,
And then we
but
can
see,
make our-
if I had, now, I'm happy you asked me, because I want to raise my hand. Because I don't know if the city has renegotiated that anytime lately, and if you're using hardly any water. You know, I mean, if you're not using any water, I wouldn't. You know, that's not my job anymore, but. Just remember that.
Yeah.
But
Any other discussion on that? Okay, with no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there's none, motion passes. Okay, next is resolution 2024-09, policy update, public contract.
oh, okay, so, the state legislature changed the limits for small procurements, intermediate procurements, and personal service contracts. And, so the small procurement, you can purchase without having to go through the whole process. Intermediate procurement, you can purchase with 3 documented quotes. Or if you're unable to find at least 3 suppliers, you have to document your effort that you went to find alternative sources. And then if you don't meet those exemptions, you have to publicly advertise and go out for bids. They were, I think, 10,000 and 100,000, and now the limits are 25 and 250.
The current policy was first in your, and then the one that we're suggesting change is second.
And the dollar amounts that were, and when you apply, it's about
So like on page 2, personal services,
There's 10,000.
250,000.
yeah. I'm looking at the one. Anyway, and then it did say contracts under 10,000. And now it's small procurements are under 25.
And the meetings between 25 and 250.
Yes.
Contracts.
And the rest of it is the same. We have not heard or received information that the limit on disposing of assets purchased with federal dollars, we still have to get permission if it's more than 10,000.
And how about just public property, this is a public board, public property? Are there any rules about dispersing? I've served on other boards where the board has to approve getting rid of property that's been,
Okay.
is that?
We didn't change it at all, but that's under E. disposal of surplus property. And it has to be, declared surplus. And it has to be done by the executive director or the designee. And we have a number of methods we can use. And we recently disposed of some surplus property through auction.
And that's,
Had some purchases over, I mean, there was like a crane that we never used.
We used it for probably a year. But then it was determined unsafe. It's maintained for the top board.
sure. Other public boards that we all serve on, do they have the board or commission approval of removal or dispersal of public property, or is it left the executive director or others, like the mayor of the board? Can he authorize public property to be sold? That's not being used.
It has to be done by council.
Depends on, yeah, right. Okay.
But I've seen it both ways.
Okay, you have to understand, it's usually like the old Explorer that nobody will take out as a emergency lot because it's not gonna make it around the block.
Sure. Yeah.
And how can you need to consider whether you want to be bothered by those kind of things. So this crane that we sold, we originally purchased it through state surplus. And which is different than purchasing it with federal dollars. And it was originally federal. And we actually got more out of it than what we paid cash for it. However, you're going to see a loss on the financial statements because when you buy federal surplus property, you are required, they put a value on this, and you're required to report is like 24.3% of what they say the value is as grant income. So if they say it's worth $250,000, we have it on the books for 24.3% of 250,000, which in this case is more than the cash we got out of it. But the cash we got out of it is more than the cash we paid for it.
Good job. My thing in all this is I don't mind how I see the 8 different ways that we dispose of them. My only question is who authorizes those? Does the commission, do we want to change the commission authorizing those? How, or leave it with the executive director? How often do we dispose of surplus property?
Not very.
No. Is it would be a problem if the commission at least saw the things that are leaving the property?
The problem is this particular one, I don't think we knew about the auction in time. It was like, I almost think we were at an auction and we found out about the next auction and, oh, we have this stuff sitting here. So what we could do is declare potential surplus if you want commission approval.
Yeah, I would like to see that policy. I mean, I've had people come up and say, thank you so much for the donation. And I'm going, what? Okay. So
Let's say we've always been told about anything we put up for a bid or an auction or things that are going out, but are they everything?
I haven't, I don't recall, you calling me the crane, yes, I think I did hear about that.
I think we have,
I don't think it would be a terrible interest for the commission to just approve things that are leaving the property that were bought with public funds. That's just my personal opinion.
You know, that also includes when we bought new chairs downstairs and we have been using the old chairs for 22 years. And we just disposed of those. Are you going to say that if something's trashed, you want commission approval?
No, anything worth more than $5,000.
Okay, that's a good number.
that's what I was just gonna ask, doesn't surplus property also include land?
No, that's a different thing.
You approve everything, sale,
Yeah.
Okay,
you already do that.
I guess,
so like when the city did it not too long ago, they came and they had a board meeting that said, we, you know,
Right.
consider this land to be surplus land, so I was wondering if that included surplus land in our,
And when we do it, we're not necessarily declaring land surplus, but we believe that there is a purpose for the port to dispose of that land. You know, like for economic development or,
Yeah, we don't declare any property surplus.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
That's
Okay.
interesting. I know the city
know
does too.
I know the city did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we don't do that.
well, we don't think we have any surplus.
I guess.
Yeah, that surplus,
Well-
people are saying, well, I want to buy it.
Hmm.
I guess all of our land is surplus, right? It's all for sale at a price.
I think surplus is,
The right project, the right question,
Yeah,
the right job.
I guess if it's okay, I might make a motion, and we can discuss this further. I would make a motion to approve public policy rules, public contract rules policy, 2024-09 with the change that, any surplus property designated by the executive director worth more than $5,000 be approved by the commission, and then just using the 8 things listed. 8 ways of doing it listed. I'll save my comments for the discussion. Should there be any?
There's been a motion for this. There a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. John moved, Shelley second. Okay, discussion on there.
I guess my feeling is I don't know that we need to be okaying it, it might need to be reported to us, anything over 5,000, but it's not like the money's leaving the port. I mean, the equipment is, but I don't. That's my feeling, I'm not, what if it? The timing's wrong, waiting for the commission to okay a surplus sale, I don't know.
that's the question that I was going to ask, is if you're in one of those situations where we're at an auction and they're having an auction in 10 days. And you found an opportunity to get rid of something. Would we have to call a special meeting so you could approve that?
I would hope there'd be more planning involved with equipment. It's like that, but
I don't think it is, I think it, we've got sitting around.
The only things that we're looking at right now, the bit of is, we've got some interest in that truck and getting some of that stuff.
What was that? Sorry.
The truck, yeah. It's not for that track.
and if that was determined to be less than 5,000, we'll find it.
I think that would go.
Right.
I think it'd be more, I think it'd be more,
Oh, okay.
I hope it's.
I'm kind of as Joel, I don't know if I need to approve it, but it'd be nice to know about it.
On the website, don't we have something that shows what our surplus equipment? I know it's on there, I don't ever see anything on it, but it's actually on the website.
Oh, it depends. So occasionally when we have vehicles, or I think in that case was golf carts. And then people can come by and look at them and make a public bid. No, this equipment went to an auction company handled, you know, those are 2 different things. That's a sealed bid.
Okay.
Which is one of the 8 options.
Yes, yes. I mean, if you want a golf cart that has been known to catch fire, yeah.
That.
And I. Yeah, if it's something big, a notice that we should know about, you're gonna tell us. But otherwise. I think we've been operating with it.
Well. Do I make an amendment, motion to amend the motion?
All right.
Go right ahead.
I'd like to amend that motion to say report rather than. Well, rather than approval.
And don't you have to approve, you have to approve.
I have to approve these, and that's fine, but as long as it's gonna be before the auction or before the disposal, just to.
Well, it can be.
Okay. Then I would accept the amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Does the seconding person have to approve that too?
I think it'd be cleaner if we vote on John's. Because John made the motion, so to amend his motion and Kelly second, Joel was,
I wasn't part of that.
Yeah.
yeah,
we just,
I'm going to amend my motion. There we go. Okay. I'll amend my motion that the commission be made aware of all auction or all disposal of property, surplus property, that fits this policy, preferably before it's disposed of, but certainly sometime, if not before. It can be after.
Okay. Gotcha, okay. That makes sense.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Thanks, sorry.
Okay, Kelly, the second is the amended motion. Okay. Any discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. Thank you very much. Very good. Next is, resolution 2024-10, public safety policy amendment. Identity, part hat policy.
So, in your packet, right behind where you were, is, we do have a safety handbook that has a very, very small section that talks about hard hats under the PPE policy. So that's that's what's current, that's what's been approved by the commission. Our safety specialist has been having issues with people not wanting to do, that's very small, doesn't really say much, so he was wanting to kind of add and put a little teeth into it. That, they have to inspect it, has to be replaced, so he wanted to make it a little bit more. So he wrote this, Tim approved it, so this would be an addendum, and then when we update our safety handbook, we'll update it as well if you guys approve. So the very, very little small section that's in there now isn't really
That's not enough to enforce.
correct.
Hard hat requirement, just the boss saying put their hat on is not enough.
That was exactly my question, Joe.
It was, and yeah. They're running. It's his job, they should do it if he tells them to do it, but he feels like they're fighting him, so he wants to make it a little bit stronger language.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll move that we approve the hard hat safety policy resolution number 2024-10.
okay,
I'll second that.
okay, Kelly has moved and Joel has seconded to approve resolution 2024-10. Any other discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Unanimous. Okay. The resolution for today. Now we're at the time. I'm Lisa in Denmark.
So, I'll give you a quick summary of my trip to Denmark. I'd love to do this, with a little more length, it's chosen photos, but, this was a trip put on for, Center for Sustainable Industry, in Washington. They did a similar trip with, Washington legislators and economic development folks.
Lisa, when you say Washington State?
Washington State. In September of last year. Philip Pasco's director called me, he said, hey, I can get you this. And now I know why. It was a great trip. Denmark is a country that is, leading in what I would say reduce, reuse, recycle. They're doing a fabulous job that they're setting up their industrial parks as symbiosis parks, which is was the point of this study tour that we took. And, it's just a much different scale than we are. I don't know if anyone's been to Denmark. It is a very beautiful country. It is very clean. They're very, interested in clean technology, but they think of every opportunity to reuse waste materials. And so they have actually set up industrial parks, and one of them in particular that we went to see was 150 acres. But everyone that is located in this park is providing something of substance that is a waste to them to another partner in the industrial park to use. And the country's set up much differently. They have the municipalities are the ones that kind of run their industrial parks. It doesn't sound like they have really county government, it's municipalities. And very interesting, if a municipality wanted to expand their urban growth boundary, if they wanted to expand their industrial park to the farm right next door, they go and they take it. The people that own those farms, which could be another 150 acres, are well aware of this. I believe what I understand is that they take care of that farm for life. I mean, the three farms that we could see on the map, that's their next expansion area, they're bought out, but they're bought out for their lifetime of retirement as well, if that makes sense. We went to food processing facilities, we went to pharmaceutical, a lot of our pharmaceuticals come from Denmark. And it's interesting, we went to the factory where they're making all of the insulin and weight loss medications that are so popular, and so that business is growing so much that yeah, they're expanding. So I looked at a refinery that had a hydrogen plant right behind it. They're taking I talked a little about municipalities, but they have what they call district heat. So if there's any warm water that's generated from one of their facilities, that warm water is piped, and it can be piped up to 40 miles. Their next project is to pipe warm water 40 miles into the city. No, it's very flat country. But because there is energy value to that warm water.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of not wasting things. So they're willing to spend more money to not waste things. If you watched the wait staff in a restaurant, they're scraping the food with every plate before they leave the table to go to, I mean, their recycling is like 8 bins of recycling.
The percentage of recycling is what, 60, 70, 80%, I mean, it's huge.
It is.
Sweden's the same, they import garbage. Sometimes, I've heard that in Sweden, just so they can recycle it because they get something out of it.
I mean, they will put up solar panels, or they'll put up a wind tower to one in an industrial park, even if it is producing 1 or 2 megs of power. And it's operating within that industrial park. So I'll give you some pictures. Port Pasco, there's 2 sites in Washington that are actually going to demonstrate, have a demonstration site as well. This is things that I think we're already doing here. I think that we're doing some really great things that we just don't really talk about. We are reusing our water. There was quite a conversation about nitrates and why on earth we take nitrates out of water to go to farmland, because the farms need that. But we're sending steam off of PGE's power plant to go to our processors. Processors are used to taking advantage of that heat. They're sending compensate return or waste, and somebody else would be figuring out how to use that water. So, their digesters that I looked at were very small. They were in tanks. Didn't take up a lot of space, you know, and I showed a few of them, ours that are for football fields. There's just some really great things that, for my mindset, I think that we can just continue to work on being able to take advantage of. So it was a great trip. I'm glad I got to go. We will be inviting, that team here to visit me for Morrow, and look and see if there's any opportunity for us to set up, a symbiosis park.
It's great to have that, you know, the back of our minds, with both of our minds as we develop for tomorrow, right, to continue on this path, so we're seeing new ways to do it. That's great.
Were those kind of newer areas, or did they take, you know, an old industrial area and rehab?
They were newer areas, and once we left Copenhagen, everything else to them was rural. Although when you got to rural, it was a city, and it, you know, it could have been the size of Pendleton probably. But set up more for, their cities are a little, I mean, old, beautiful buildings, but every factory, every business that I went into was as modern as can be. And in terms of architecture, and what you would think is Danish design, if, you know, you go to IKEA and you see very, very bland, very, clean lines. But no, we would get on a bus at 8 in the morning, and we would at least visit 2 or 3 sites a day. We would get to the next town to get our hotel. It'd be 6 o'clock, and they give us free time. And nothing was open, but we walked around a little bit. It was interesting. I think there's an opportunity. They're doing another one that's just particular to wastewater in the fall. We might consider sending somebody to that. The other side of that trip was the opportunity to sit for 5 days on a bus with legislators from the state of Oregon and get to talk about changes in state government. We talked a lot about DEQ. There's a lot of, I would say, negative comments about DEQ, and I went to the opposite direction and said, give them more money to do their jobs properly, give them more staffing. They need, every state needs environmental controls. They need more money to do it. That's the short of it.
Time will spend.
It was great.
It's good. Good. Bring those ideas to us.
A reminder that not everything should go in our garbage cans.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The Swedish over here, they couldn't believe it once we threw it away.
Yeah.
Because it's easier.
Yeah, it's easier to throw it. You're gonna be mountain tomorrow, man, just down the right.
Yeah.
He grows everything.
Okay, any other new business? What were we gonna move to new business? Forgot.
I wrote it down and I can't read it.
Correction,
I don't think we're ready.
Newspaper
yeah, whether it's correct, the news.
Actually, we could send it if you want. We just typically don't.
I think it's an easy fix to say, hey, you know, this was wrong or inaccurate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where they got that.
Sure, let's do it, let's do it, PR, let me know exactly what
Yeah.
you're wrong.
Okay.
Are we gonna have any executive session
No,
today? Okay, I don't know how hard we are on the bus at 11, but,
well, we thought we were going to be done at.
Yeah.
30.
Budget updates on this, and we talk, we talk about projects. The only one I'd like to talk about here is the flood mitigation center. We're moving forward, we haven't got that part yet.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah.
How about, what can we? Nobody's on here from Willow Creek. Or BCBA,
Well, we need to go out staff reports.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Do you want to see the pictures?
Let's see the picture, let's see that, and then we'll know what you're talking about.
Tim had a bunch of stuff going on, so he's not on.
That's
But I
Tim's got Mark's number.
Are we stopping at state center?
Yeah, we are.
You got hard hat for all?
No,
Oh,
we're gonna be there right to do.
I haven't signed the thing.
That's right.
They got off.
The site's gonna be ready.
There's the new scale. For the build project.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are we driving that way?
Yeah, we can try that.
I would drive, okay.
Yeah, that's the newer and now East Beach pump station. It's tied to probably PX 17 project.
So
They're
that's
paying for
actually-
expansion.
That's a B building?
Just add on to it.
Okay.
That's the pond we finished up, we go 178. In the airport road, they're finishing up on grading right now. We're having them pull out for about a month and a half. We had a bunch of sleeves put in for crossing for, utilities. And they're gonna come back and pay it in July. For problems. Very nice road. Very nice road.
Yeah.
And track.
It's gonna be ready for football, right?
Yeah, and then the grass is starting. I doubt it. This fall,
Okay.
unless they're gonna saw it, I haven't been to the meeting. So,
Whatever. My son's coaching, so they
Oh.
said it's gonna be ready.
okay, sure. Oh, no, it's water.
Okay, okay.
Is that your plan is already like?
Oh, that's true, yeah. they-
Yeah, great, it's great. They're over there. Russians.
So we're gonna see most of that,
Yeah.
about any maintenance updates we need to know about before we.
No, after flood mitigation, we're working through that, we're working with you never did the final sign off on site. But for what it sounds like is the work completed the work, the final work plan is not submitted to DEQ. For the work. So what we're gonna have to do is we're probably have to do a bunch of test holes, make sure the chips are all in.
So you're talking about something 10 years.
I'm talking about something that happened 15 years ago.
Okay, there you go.
We're all recalling that a little bit differently. My recollection is we did everything that we needed to do to get that cleared and the state did not do it.
But what's the final, there's no final work plans. That was the part that's what I got from Bruce.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's so. I think the work is done also, because it's just DEQ's got no record of the final work plan. So we'll have to dig some holes to go through that process. We're also working on a place to do the spoils to go into the land. Again, pre-approval, so it goes out and bid again, and everybody's a fair playing field.
So this is important, but test holes and the sign offs important also. Should the circuit court building be placed there, or I don't even know what the current.
No, because it's not down in that area. I think it's, and they're gonna be big, that's what we.
Some of them,
Yeah.
but I may like have a side conversation over here, we think we did everything that was required, and they still wouldn't get that final sign off.
Wouldn't you?
They can't find the track, the final track.
That, what they're saying sounds right.
Yeah, I don't think that, I don't think we were.
Just the way things work with DEQ and stuff, you know, hey, do this, and we did it, and oh no, we got something else there. That's what I heard.
Well, we have good conversations now and just in the good conversations. But
We'll get there.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being very appreciative.
Okay. Financial update. And it's,
You have the numbers in front of you, we're still managing to hold on to our cash. But we're guessing by August that number is going to be substantially lower. We have committed as part of the WIPIA to maintaining at least a 1 month reserve. I can't believe they went that low, which is something less than $3 million of an operating reserve. So we'll still be in compliance with our debt agreements. We have made a few adjustments, we'll still have more. There's all these things that we come to the wrong place. And you look at it at the end of the year and you think, what were we thinking? And so there'll be some moving around. And anyway, if you ever have any questions later, don't hesitate to ask.
okay. About usage reports, we've all got those. And there anything standing out on usage reports? I didn't see anything, other than we use less water than we've used in the last 6 years. I did not that.
Yeah.
Found it, Karen, happy.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay, well, it's not a good thing on the bottom line, it's a good thing on the peak.
Well, that's exactly, and I figured that's probably why it's not.
Yeah, we have asked all of our industries to conserve.
Very, very great.
Okay. Any other questions on the usage reports and comments from the over? Okay, next is other. Anything else we need to add on?
All I have is a message from Tori saying, for Christmas party, you still want to do it in 2 days. We have room for everyone now at the event center, so it's our first opportunity to have us all in one room together in quite a while, so I think that we should do that.
Oh, we so two of
That is
great.
true.
That's true.
That is good.
Okay, on other reports, I don't see anybody. These other outfits here, Willow Creek, OGCDA. I can go. Since we're a little short on time, we'll skip over those.
I will
Yeah.
say, we need to thank, Anna and Tori because they both at the very last minute jumped in to do some tours. And host 200 people, I think 200 people at the Safe Center today.
Oh, really?
Because of the Eastern Oregon Coalition, the summit, had some very late scheduling of things, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay,
And they needed some help and we offered to do it. Which, you know, impacted our landscape group because they now got to go to the 10th up for the day and so the trickle down effect is a lot and we did that.
We're sort of, yeah, of the thing staff up.
To say,
This time,
we hired,
We have a new assistant manager, and she's doing amazing.
and those of you know, Terry on purpose, she's got a very last name now.
Andrews, yeah, she's doing amazing, jumping in, she has great energy and is so excited. I'm so excited for her. And then we hired a guy from, his name is Angel, from, currently he's working for Hurston Herald, Eastern Oregon Media. He'll start on Monday and he'll be the event center manager. So Tori's super excited about him. He kind of is, he did that for Hurston Herald, Eastern Oregon Media, and he set up events like their ad show and stuff, so. He's
We've got
excited.
new interns built in, so
3 interns, and I just set up an interview for the part-time customer service. They call it visitor experience, so. Still have not replaced, the esteemed education advisory position. We made an offer and then it just didn't work out for that person, so. Still working on that one, but yeah, they're getting there.
Okay. Well, good, let the crew know that we appreciate their ability to jump in, make it happen. Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah. Well, I would like to thank the.
I don't know that I was, it's to see talking to the audience. But go right ahead.
This State Center, every night, Monday night was our first night for music in the park. And so we had a big windstorm and rain, and so the State Center was very nice to allow us to use the State Center for music in the park. And the little chorus girl was very accommodating, and her fella was a nice doorman, because he held the door open while that wind was blowing so hard. Anyway, and I don't know if you've heard, but Merle Carlson passed away, and, you know, you guys have a lot of farm ground from that family that you purchased, and so, yeah, I just wanted the people in the court to have a little thought about him, maybe tomorrow's his service. And go for it.
Yeah, that was permanent, Morrow for a long time. Okay. Back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, thanks, Karen. Anything else? You can see our upcoming events, 31st on July. Okay. Anything else we need to do before we adjourn? Okay, so it is 11:02, I will adjourn our meeting.
that's when you don't want this.